All right, friends, it's our Wednesday look-ahead half of these two shows. I'm Dan Vespers. Welcome to Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. We'll tell you all the things to be watching for on this big 11-game, 22-team Wednesday night. Whatever things break in the middle of the ball game, you'll be ready to make that move, and you won't have to wait for someone on Twitter to tell you, and you won't have to wait for my morning podcast to tell you. You'll be ready to go. You'll know what to do without needing any kind of additional confirmation. That's why we do these shows. That's why these shows are important. I'm Dan Vespers at Dan Vespers over on social media, DanBesbris. Please hit the like button while you're just settling in here. Do it. And then subscribe. Maybe that's even more important. However you're taking in the content, follow, subscribe, and if you have a moment to do a 5-star review, that would also be delightful. I screwed this up on the first show, and I forgot to do a read for our buddies over at Bet Online. So, basketball fans, it's that time of the year again. The NBA is back. Has been for a week now. From opening tip-off to buzzer beaters, Bet Online has you covered with the best odds, biggest promotions, and live in-game betting on all your favorite teams. This season, every game matters. That's why Bet Online has every stat, matchup breakdown, and even live odds to bet on during the game. And they've got more than just the NBA. Bet Online has odds from everything, including football, baseball playoffs, NHL, political props. Head to their website today to get in on the action with America's most trusted site for online wagering, Bet Online. The game starts here. Don't going to screw that up 2 shows in a row. I'm a professional. Let's take a look at what's going on this evening. Make sure we get this the right way. There we go. That's better. A lot, by the way, is the answer to that question. A lot is going on this evening. We're back to a huge slate. It was big, little big so far this week. 11 games on Monday, 4 on Tuesday, 11 tonight. Then things settle in a little bit. You got 4 tomorrow, 9 and 10 Friday, Saturday, 3 on Sunday. So today is kind of your last real risk of an overload day. Think about that before you make any moves. Make sure you're not doubling up on any roster slots. But with all these teams going, let's do it team by team. Let's make sure we're ready for whatever the night throws at us. The Celtics, Peyton Pritchard is on a lava hot streak right now. The question is really, can he continue it? Because he's one of the top guys in the NBA in three-pointers so far this season. In just 25 minutes, he's taking 11 shots, and he's up to about 5 threes a ball game, which feels probably not sustainable. But again, if we're thinking about just like how do you drop in a guy that might be successful, they've got a back-to-back Friday, Saturday in Charlotte, and one would assume that Horford sits one of those 2 games. Everything that just opens up a little bit here and there is good for a guy like Pritchard, who I'll admit, I don't have the stones to throw him into a Roto Games Cap spot, but head-to-head, he's good right now. Tyrese Halliburton, is he rising? I hope. That's the only thing I think we're thinking about with the Pacers is what is Halliburton about to be? He's certainly one of the easier buy low guys in the NBA. Will he get to be a top 5? No, I don't think so. We never had him that high. He was an end of first round kind of dude that has the high assist total, which is an easier thing to kind of build your team around. And that's why he was getting drafted, at least in my opinion, where he was getting drafted. I guess the question is there someone you've got like a second rounder that's really smashing right now that you think is going to fall back towards 20? I don't know. I don't know if the buy low is pull-offable, especially after you showed signs in their last one, but something to think about. For the Raptors, one guy comes back, another one goes down. RJ Barrett returned. Scotty Barnes got popped in the eye and apparently is going to miss a couple of ball games. So does that mean we can go back to streaming Grady Dick? Probably. I kind of want to see what the Raptors look like when they actually have their guys in there. That seems like they could be sort of fun, but, well, in any event. Charlotte Hornets, the Trey Mann fill-in. They haven't played in a while, have they? Feels like it's been a minute. What was Charlotte's last game? Saturday. That's right. We talked about that on our Week 2 preview show. They had 3 days off, so, we get a nice dose of LaMelo here. It seems like Trey Mann is a startable player. I know he's got some holes in his fantasy game, field goal percent being one of them, but the other stuff has been good enough with Brandon Miller out. Let's keep tabs, obviously, on the health of various guys, because you might see dudes get ruled in between now and when the games start, like 6 hours from when I'm recording this. But going on the information we have right now, Tre Mann seems like a pretty good choice. Again, we've talked about Nick Richards a lot on this show. He is a rebounds and field goal percent stream only, or at least that's how I feel about it. The Hawks are dropping like flies right now. Dyson Daniels is out shorter term. Bogdan Bogdanovic had a procedure on his hamstring. He's out a month. I don't know if DeAndre Hunter is coming back for this ball game, but damn, if he is, there's a whole lot for him to do. And it sure feels like with Bogdanovic out for a little while now, DeAndre Hunter's probably an ad. Probably. If he's playing. If he's not playing, obviously you don't want to use a weekly move on him. Roto's side, there's probably enough there. Because, like, you take Bogdanovic out of the mix, DeAndre Hunter suddenly is the third option on that Hawks team on offense behind Trey and Jalen Johnson. That's more than enough. And I know that, like, fantasy-wise, his lines are not that juicy or exciting, but third option on that team would very much be enough for DeAndre Hunter to be consistently inside the top 100 until guys start to come back, which, again, it feels like we have a little bit of a window there. Washington Wizards, with Kyle Kuzma out, is it finally time for Valanciunas to get to do something? Would they slide Alex Sarr to the 4 and go JV at the 5? We'll find out later on tonight, but that's my hope. And then, of course, we're also hoping that Bilal can keep up the relatively solid pace so far this year. I mean, if we find out if Valanciunas is starting, that I think would be the cutoff for me to drop him into a lineup. Again, I've talked about this before. I don't have any Jonas Valanciunas on my team. And honestly, he was teetering pretty close to a drop. But with an injury, that changes things a little bit. So play it cautiously for the moment. And let's see what happens as they drop some starting lineups and whatnot. We're watching Jaden Ivey's percentages for the Pistons, and we're watching to see if Tobias Harris will ever actually make a jump shot, which I believe, going out on a limb, eventually he will. So for now, that makes Harris a bit of a buy low. And again, it comes down to what you think it might take to get him. My assumption is, honestly, someone like a Dyson Daniels before he got hurt might not have been the worst guy to throw out there. Someone drafted at 100, performing really well. And it's hard. At some point, we'll have to just float off on a tangential series of thoughts about trade etiquette. But, like, no one ever wants to trade for these guys, giving up someone who's hot. That's what you have to do. You're not going to go buy low on someone with the dude you're trying to get rid of. That's not how trades work. Stop and think about that before you send an offer out. You need to give up someone who has a high perceived value in the moment if you're going to ask for someone back who was drafted ahead of them, especially after just 1 week. When you get deeper into the season, there's the perception versus reality stuff dissipates a little bit, and you're starting to now just look for that kind of ROI on stats, what categories you're hunting. But right now, you got to give up something of value, or perceived value, I guess I should say. For the Sixers, just keep streaming. No Embiid, no Paul George still, so keep the Andre Drummond and Kelly Oubre pedals down to the metal, as they say. Lakers, keeping an eye on D'Angelo Russell's field goal percent. I think that'll tip back in the right direction. He's only at 38 right now. I'd like to see the number of shots tick up as well, although it sounds like he's perhaps questionable for this game with some back soreness. We might not get an answer then, but that's the thing to keep an eye on. If he's out, does anybody move up enough to take his place? My inclination is to say no, because it's not like, Gabe Vincent, if he got the start, is going to get enough shots to be worthwhile. I really don't know. Really don't know. I don't know what the hell the Lakers would do there. More Dalton Connect? Yeah, nothing that you're going to do anything about fantasy-wise. Cavaliers, has Evan Mobley hit a new gear? There was a little bit of pushback on my Leaper show. Someone was like, Evan Mobley's doing the same crap as usual. Yes and no. It's not a totally wrong retort, because it doesn't seem like 88% at the free throw line doesn't feel sustainable there. 51% from the field probably gets better for Mobley, but my take on him remains that it wasn't so much about an adjusted stat set, that things have gotten better and he's like scoring more. It's more that he's just going to play the right amount. Mobley's numbers last year were artificially depressed by injury games where he only played, 27, 28 minutes instead of 34. If he gets into more, and the Cavaliers have only had 1.5 competitive games out of 4 so far this year, he's playing 34, 35 minutes when they need him to. And if you take last year's Mobley's numbers, which were around 30 minutes, and you add 10% to those, that's how he jumps from being ranked near 40 to being ranked near 30. Like it doesn't even take a big adjustment on his fantasy stuff. The New York Knicks, this one comes down to me whether or not Josh Hart is going to play. He's questionable for this game. I think it was an ankle impingement or whatever was going on there. Leg soreness, whatever they want to call it. If Hart is out, they probably have no choice but to start Miles McBride, in which case he probably gets enough shots to be relevant, but it won't be that exciting of a fantasy line. Frankly, I'd just rather have Josh Hart in there because I think he's going to put up some really fun lines this year. The Miami Heat have nothing. Oh, you know what? Let's go back to the Knicks for 1 second because I got a bunch of should I buy low on Jalen Brunson tweets. So this is another one of those situations where, for me, Brunson is ranked 152 right now. There is some kind of wonky stuff at play. Like, he does not have a single defensive stat in 3 games to this point. And frankly, he won't have that many of those, but it's not going to be 0. The issues with Brunson are, number 1, 19 shots a game, which is down from the 28 or whatever he's taken down the stretch last year, which is very predictable because Cat is there and Mikal Bridges is there and OG Anunoby is there and other guys that are at least competent basketball players are around him that were not down the stretch last season. The other issue is the 4.7 assists. There's ball movement. He is not the guy initiating every single offensive possession. I don't know that the scoring gets back where you want it to be. I think the assists probably do trend up a little bit from where they are, and the free throws at 79% are not going to be that bad. And obviously the steals and blocks aren't going to be that bad. But the issue isn't whether or not Jalen Brunson's going to be better than he's been so far. That's an obvious yes. The issue is where he was drafted versus where I personally, and if you follow Old Man Squad stuff and my stuff, I presume you take some of what I say and think and agree with it. I felt that Brunson was going way too early. Anybody that drafted him in the second round, I was looking at the board like, sweet, that's going to get Kevin Durant 1 pick closer to wherever I am next. So if you're buying low, and this is a weird little math problem you have to kind of work out in your mind, how much are you willing to give up? Okay, what do I think Brunson actually is going to be this year? He was around 20 last season when half the year he got to be near a first rounder because he had no help. When Julius Randle was there, he was a third rounder. Well, I have every reason to believe that this season with Cat is going to be pretty similar to last season with Randle, which was not really third round. It was late third, early fourth, so 40 range for Brunson. But you're not going to be able to get him for a 40 range guy. Somebody drafted him at 18. They're not going to sell him for something that low. You could try to find somebody that you drafted near 40 that maybe is having a terrific start to the year, like a Cade Cunningham or something like that. Cade might be able to get you Jalen Brunson. But at the end of the day, would I even want to do that? I think Cade is going to be around top 40 also. So why would I give up one top 40 guy for another guy that I think is going to be top 40 when that dude is slumping? That's the hard part of this. I'm not willing to give up more than a top 40 guy to get Jalen Brunson, and there's just no way someone's going to sell him for less than that. No one drafted in the late 4th to 5th round range is going to be enough for Jalen Brunson right now. It doesn't matter how well they're playing. It does not matter how well they're playing. They will not be enough. Cam Thomas is probably your best option there. It will not be enough. I can promise you this. So there's almost no way to buy low on Jalen Brunson, at least when you have the evaluation of him that I do. And it's the same way with other guys that maybe we faded that are off to a slow start. Maybe they're buy low, but not low enough. Orlando. I'm curious what Wendell Carter Jr. ends up being this year. Maybe there's a little bit more health there. Maybe he can get back into that 110 range that we had from a couple seasons back. And then what's Paolo going to do? He had a great first game, 2 clunkers, one insane fourth game. we shall see. Lonzo Ball sprained his wrist. That's the latest on the Chicago Bulls, which is annoying. I'm stashing him in some Roto Games Cap League because I think if he ever gets to like 24 minutes a game, he could actually be kind of Roto useful. Head-to-head, this has no bearing on anything other than it does clear out another 16 to 18 minutes for the other guards. So a little bit more for Ayo Dosunmu. Keep an eye on him. Obviously, a little more for the starters in guys like Kobe White and Josh Giddey. But like Zach LaVine is doing a lot already, so is Vooch. One would assume that things remain largely unchanged for Chicago with this Lonzo news, other than does the team get worse? Yes, markedly so. He was their best plus-minus guy in their last game and probably trended towards being that long-term. Let's hope he's only out for 2 to 3 weeks. That's the hope here. The Brooklyn Nets. I have dropped Ben Simmons. I give you permission to do so as well. We'll watch his minute per game total. If it ever gets up above 26, then we can start to look at him again. But if he's log jammed at that 24 spot because of his body and whatever else, then it's just not going to be enough. And then for you head-to-headers with Brooklyn on a back-to-back, Simmons sat the front half of the back-to-back, and Claxton's going to sit the second half of the back-to-back, most likely. So you probably have a Dorian Finney-Smith streamer if you want. The Memphis Grizzlies, if Ja Morant is in or out, is obviously going to play a big role in what you do with Scotty Pippen Jr. Jaren Jackson's minutes are on the ramp up. How does that impact Santi Aldama, who, by the way, they've gotten some minutes at the small forward instead. I probably should have also put on this list, is Marcus Smart a 12-teamer? Because so far, no. I don't know that there's many guys out there that I'd rather pick up instead of Smart just because of the steals and assists upside. But that might not be my stance forever. We'll buy him a little bit longer. And certainly if you're like having Scottie Pippen right now, just while you wait on the Ja news is probably the right move, certainly on the Roto side. San Antonio, what is Jeremy Sohan going to be this year? I really don't know. He's one of those players that I can't fully figure out what his deal is. I think he belongs on rosters. That much I know. But Roto, I don't think I have the stones to start him. Head-to-head, you kind of have no choice but to. And then you just, like, cross your fingers, close your eyes that it's not a bad percentages game. Same thing with Chris Paul, who shot a little bit more in the last one, but assisted a little bit less. He's a hold for me. And then is Julian Champagnie even worth it? He had a really nice first game, but he's very much come back to earth. Is this Devin Vassell fill-in stuff? Probably fine, but more kind of limited in how good it could be. Roto, I'd probably go look for something better. Head-to-head, if you already have him on your roster, then just roll with it. You're not gonna move off of him because I'm sure he'll be fine enough, and that'll do. The Oklahoma City Thunder, we will talk about right after this quick break. Alex Caruso, please, Lord, let me see 22 minutes or more. If I don't, I'm going to have a very tough time convincing you all to hold on to him. And I'm not sure that we would need to. If he's really going to be stuck in 19 to 21 range, that won't be enough. We need like 25. But I'll just be happy to see even a small uptick, which, I mean, I guess we've seen a very small uptick from like 19 to 21, but yeesh. Pelicans, if Herb Jones has to miss this game, and then he would join Trey Murphy and DeJounte Murray, who gets those minutes? Certainly makes the Jordan Hawkins situation a little bit more clear. And one would assume the Pelicans play better in this second half of their road in Golden State. But also holding Herb if we find out he's out for any stretch of time. If he's out for more than if he's worse than day to day, then you can probably move on. If it's day to day, try to hang tough. 3 more teams on the look ahead. The Warriors. Brandon Podziemski looked very good with Steph and Wiggins out. Buddy Hield looked very good with both those guys out, although he was closer to value beforehand because he went on that crazy 3-point shooting streak to start the year. So those guys are certainly in the mix for the injury replacement trophy. Is Draymond Green, is he just done so? I think I said that I was going to hold him for at least another week, so we're not going to do anything there. And Trace Jackson Davis, I think he's probably a drop, although let's wait and see. At this point, they're playing, so at least we can get one more game of data. But right now, he's not that close to fantasy value, and a lot of it's just because the Warriors have too much stuff going on. Portland the Trailblazers, I don't know, man. Like, DeAndre Ayton has been fine so far, and Scoot has been a little bit better for particular team builds, but Simon's been bad, and he was a guy that we hard faded because of the issues with his fantasy stat set. Blazers. What's Shaedon Sharpe going to be when he comes back? This is a troubling bunch. I think the most interesting thing with Portland is what is Avdija going to do game to game. But overall, that's a dangerous spot to have fantasy players. And then for the Clippers, there's not much new that we're going to be watching out for. I'm enjoying watching the Zubats chemistry. And then, like, is Derek Jones actually going to be good enough on a night-to-night basis, or is he going to have to shoot like 70% to get there? I'd be leaning towards no, but let's keep a watch on things in Clipper Town. And plus, like, there's still room for someone else to emerge there, because right now, with no real update on Kawhi and Harden and Norm pretty much doing all the scoring, and Zubats, like, if Ivica slows down offensively, does someone step into that? The injury replacement board, ladies and gentlemen, has grown hefty. I was kind of hoping it wouldn't get this long this early in the year, but let's talk about some hamburgers. 3 hamburgers is a guy that I think has top 50 fill-in potential. 2 hamburgers is a guy that I think has top 75 fill-in potential. 1 hamburger is a guy I feel really confident will be inside the top 100 in his performance. And 0 hamburgers are guys that are going to have a much larger role due to someone being hurt, but we don't really know exactly what they're going to do with it. So we'll start at the top. Triple burger is Andre Drummond, who has filled in admirably for Joel Embiid. I know that, like, moment to moment, minute to minute, game to game, the ranking might not reflect it because of the bad free throw shooting day and the game where I think he fouled out in like 12 minutes. But he's, there's a couple games in there when you look at a Drummond who, what was the last one? Was it like 19 rebounds or something? What was the number for you, Andre? 17 boards, 3 defensive stats. The previous game, he had 6 defensive stats. Like, the free throw thing is the big issue. That 3 for 8 foul shooting game right in the middle there, and he was 3 for 3 in the other ones. So, 48% shooting, that should probably be a little bit better. But, like, look, dude's playing 28 minutes, and he's averaging 13 rebounds a game. You're just not going to find that stuff elsewhere. So it's a good one. Kelly Oubre, there will be a little bit of an up and down with him because of efficiency stuff, but he's a 1 burger while we're sticking with Philadelphia. Norman Powell's a 2 burger guy. I still am not convinced that he's better than top 100 when Kawhi comes back. But again, nothing we have to do about that. Just play him and then see what happens later on. Rui Hachimura, also a 2 burger, just like Powell. And that one to me is, again, we don't know exactly what he's going to be when Jared Vanderbilt returns. Buddy Hield is a 2 burger guy if both Steph and Wiggins are out. I think if only one of those dudes is out, you probably downgrade him to a single burger. Scotty Pippen Jr. is a 2 burger guy if Ja has to miss this game. If Ja's playing, well, then Pippen is not an injury replacement guy. Then he's just a dude who's been on a hot streak, and you treat it very differently. Single burger plays. Trey Mann for Brandon Miller in Charlotte. Grady Dick in Toronto for Quickly and Barnes. And then a whole host of 0 burger guys, because I just don't like Jordan Hawkins, very up and down in New Orleans. Quite playable on the head-to-head side. Roto, kind of a coin flip. Julian Champagny, same thing. Very playable for head-to-head. Roto, is it going to be good enough to use a games cap? Kind of a coin flip. If Josh Hart is out, Miles McBride probably slides into that coin flip kind of zone. Dorian Finney-Smith, kind of a coin flip. And then 2 teams in particular that I want you guys to really think about and watch the injury reports closely. Washington, because we know Kuzma is banged up. If he sits, I want to know who the starting lineup's going to be. Because if it's Valanciunas, well, he's on a lot of rosters right now anyway, but that really helps him. And it'll help Alex Sarr as well, who honestly has been startable with or without an injury to Kuzma. But if he's down and Sarr is going to have to play a couple extra minutes at power forward, that's a big win for him. Just extra minutes is a big win. And then in Atlanta, that's the really interesting one. Dyson Daniels is out. Bogdan Bogdanovic is out. We don't know if DeAndre Hunter is out. You wipe out at least, like, we know Bogdan is out. That one's an easy one. And so that's, was set to be basically the third highest usage guy on the team. But he's been out after the first game. So we've already kind of seen that. And DeAndre Hunter got to do a lot of stuff there. And Dyson Daniels got to do a fair amount. Well, now Dyson's down. So suddenly 2 of the 30-minute guys are out. That's going to create something. There's probably going to be some weirdos that pop up and play 26 minutes and hit some 3-pointers, but that's not the sustainable one. The one we want is DeAndre Hunter to be healthy and in the lineup. By the way, we just got word in the middle of this podcast that Scotty Barnes is set to miss at least 3 weeks with a right orbital fracture. So it wasn't just the eye, it was the area around it as well. That sucks. Well, that certainly makes Grady Dick a more interesting solution because, well, actually, quickly was, doubtful? So he'll be back sooner, but now you might get a couple games out of Grady. Yeah, I don't know. I was thinking about pausing the show to go make a move, but I think I'll sit on that right now. Anyway, that's bad news for Scotty Barnes. Obviously, you're stashing him. And, if Quickly comes back, he'll be able to do a whole bunch of stuff, and RJ Barrett's going to get to do a whole bunch of stuff. So just, enjoy the players that are upright for Toronto right now. But again, finishing up the thought on Atlanta, just watch, Underdog has the really quick updates. I prefer to follow all of the beat writers because you can get that right as it comes out. They're doing the heavy lifting there. Make sure you know what's going on in Atlanta. And if there's just some goober who gets dropped into the starting lineup, I don't think I would start them on a whim. I don't. I think that's a little bit risky. Plus, Atlanta, their schedule's not bad this week. They go every other day from today, and then they play Sunday, Monday, but everybody plays Monday, so that day is a wash. You don't need to worry about game planning for early next week because there's 15 games Monday, 12 on Wednesday, 13 on Friday because of the election. That week becomes a very up-down, sort of unbalanced week of basketball where almost everybody in the NBA plays Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. It's really heavy on those 4. So I wouldn't worry about it from that standpoint, in terms of getting more games out of your Hawks. For me, I'd rather just find a guy who I think might have some value for more than a day or two. And that is, again, in this case, if healthy, Hunter has a really nice path to travel. But that dude also, first of all, never stays healthy. And second of all, we need an update today anyway. So that's crummy. We've got a lot of guys on the injury board. There are a lot of dudes out. Embiid, Paul George, Kawhi, Vando, Brandon Miller, Steph, Wiggins, Quickly, Barnes, maybe Ja, DeJounte, Trey, Vassell. Is Josh Hart out? Dyson, Bogdan, Kuzma. The list goes on and on and on and on, and Markkanen down with back spasms. We're only Serenity now. 8 days into the season. Serenity now. Insanity later. All right. Thanks for watching. Like, rate, subscribe. You guys know the drill. I will be recording a show a little bit later on today with my good buddy Adam King. We'll be doing some mailbag questions. There's a tweet that floated around. If you guys want to get some questions in on that, we'll be answering probably 5 to 10 of our absolute favorites of them. And that show will probably drop tomorrow. And then, of course, we'll have the big Wednesday recap show coming up tomorrow as well. At some point over the rest of this week, I want to try to do a buy low kind of show because we did a don't sell high show yesterday. Maybe we should do a don't buy low. These are your guys that really suck now. Because everybody seemed to really enjoy the don't sell high episode, which we titled the Leapers, the guys that are just better and you're not going to get enough back for them to sell. What about the guys in my opinion, like a Jalen Brunson? Not that he's bad now. He just has help. What are the guys that are playing worse because it's just going to be worse this year? Maybe that's the show. Maybe I'll do a poll. Maybe I'll get the hell out of here. I'm Dan for Old Man Squad Fantasy Basketball. See you guys over on social media between now and tomorrow. Right? At Dan Besbris. See you there. Bye-bye.